The Crescent Moon Club, in association with Cyclops Entertainment, in conjunction with ABT, presents Omnibus Unlimited, a roundtable discussion of provocative subjects which must be addressed. Radiovision for the 21st century. Hello again, everyone. I'm Laurence, Nobile, independent researcher and host of Omnibus Unlimited. Tonight, our topic of discussion is Extraterrestrial Propulsion Systems. With me to discuss this subject is Tom Murray, psychic healer and medical technician from the Columbus Medical Associates in Boston. Tom, thanks for being here tonight.
Good evening, Larry, and good evening, listeners.
Dan Murray, ufologist from Berlin, Massachusetts. Dan, thanks for being here again.
Good evening, Larry.
Brian Nobile, youth specialist from Wilmington, Massachusetts. Brian, thanks for being here tonight.
Always a pleasure.
And, of course, our own producer of Omnibus Unlimited, John Horrigan, who will be chiming in as need be. John, thanks for being here tonight.
Hello there, Larry.
Extraterrestrial Propulsion Systems. Now, the fact that we're talking about this subject lends credence to the idea that there are extraterrestrials here. Obviously, if there were no extraterrestrials, we wouldn't be talking about extraterrestrial propulsion systems. So since we are assuming that extraterrestrials are here, and I, for one, have not received any physical evidence that they are, although there is a lot of circumstantial evidence to that effect. Extraterrestrial propulsion systems. Brian, you wanted to talk about this subject. Why don't you kick it off for us?
Yes, well, I'm sure very many people out there who believe in UFOs and extraterrestrial life wonder how they leave our planet and come and go and move across space and whatever. Well, obviously, it's going to end up on this show, where we try to dissect and figure out how, by using our opinions or whatever. But Tom Murray has some very interesting theories as to how aliens can use the magnetic poles as propulsion to enter and leave the Earth, and so does Dan Murray, who has some very interesting insights into how that might be possible. I'm sure he does, seeing he's a UFO expert. Tom, would you like to explain your theories as to how the UFOs use the magnetic poles to propel itself across into Earth and across space and blah blah?
Good evening, Brian. There's a T. Lobsang Rampa, is a Tibetan Buddhist monk who since has moved many years ago to British Columbia, Vancouver area. And he says that he can observe many extraterrestrials flying in that area on many nights of the week. It's not a very heavily populated area where he lives. Being a monk raised in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition and also being highly psychic, he is able to see auras around people, go into past lives of people, understand a great many things in the metaphysical and unknown realms of the universe. Now, he's made the statement in one of his writings that he believes that one of the reasons UFOs are very hard for aircraft to follow is that the people, extraterrestrials that utilize UFOs, are not being Earth creatures, have a lot of trouble with the Earth environment and handling the Earth environmental electromagnetic field and also the gravitational field. So what they've done is they've constructed a sort of a spacecraft utilizing anti-gravity forces and electromagnetic forces so that they have this is referred to the disk within a disk. If I have an object spinning in one direction, it has its centrifugal force. If I have an object spinning in a counter direction, it has a centripetal force. This sets up two opposing forces, which winds up with the middle area being an almost gravity-free area, much like an astronaut feels when he's in outer space, out of the field of gravity. It's my thought also that kind of came to me from reading about the utilization of electromagnetic energy or in magnetic fields to power certain French monorail T systems, that the only limitation they have on the speed of these vehicles used and built in France is the construction limitations that we have with our present technology. Every time our technology advances, our speed limits go up. The other thing is that the extraterrestrials able to, by observing the Van Allen radiation belt, which is a very powerful magnetic field that comes out of the North Pole of the Earth and radiates in a horseshoe-shaped field around the Earth and enters into the South Pole and makes the Earth and the Earth's atmosphere, in effect, a huge electromagnetic field. Are they utilizing that Van Allen radiation belt and the magnetic field of the solid Earth by placing themselves in the middle of that? Are they setting up a neutral field in which, by increasing and decreasing the field of their own, the speed of revolution of the outer sphere of their own spaceship, can they raise and lower themselves by use of these magnetic fields? I'm not sure, but that would be a possible approach they could use to making this spaceship fly.
Is it possible that, Dan Murray, is it possible that they could use this technology to leave Earth and then use each planet to swing around as like Tarzan using vines to propel itself? Is that a possibility, or is there something else to it?
We've already done it. We did it with Voyager 2. We used the magnetic pole of one planet to swing it around and into this magnetic pole of the next planet to bring it there without using.
So it's already been done. So
we proved the
that's
theory.
a given. Yes.
Earthlings or Terrans, as you want to call them, or NASA or Americans, have already proved that theory true, and they learned that. What I've been saying is that they learned this from the aliens, because that is why the Air Force wants pictures of the underneath of a UFO, is because that is where the anti-gravity field is, and that's what they did. They used the magnetic pole of one planet to the next to put Voyager all the way out of this solar system and from one star to the next, and they learned that from the UFOs, because that is how they travel. The problem with the UFOs within our atmosphere is where the trouble begins, is they do have trouble navigating within the atmosphere of the Earth. But getting from one planet to the next is not a problem, as they did with Voyager.
So, seeing that the government has learned this technology from observing the UFOs, would you say that they've also tried to simulate a UFO craft in using it as maybe a weapon, or trying to perfect it like the aliens do, trying to come up with a spacecraft that could leave Earth in like the aliens do, except, manned by Earthlings?
Well, it's a step-by-step procedure. See, the first step was to prove the theory true, which they proved with Voyager, swinging from one magnetic pole to the next. So they proved that theory. The second step is to get the space station built up in space, because you're wasting a tremendous amount of energy and time and power bringing up parts from the Earth and trying to fly it out to tremendous places. Once we start building our stations in outer space and on other planets, we'll be able to produce aircraft that can fly great distances with little trouble at all once we get up there. So that is why I'm against current programs and budgets that cut back on these programs, because it's self-destructive on the long term.
Very interesting, Dan, but I'd like to come back to that later. I want to go to Tom here for a second, but I want to come back later to talk about what is the effectiveness in terms of the speed to which you can travel. But Tom, you wanted to say something.
Well, actually, Dan, I wanted to ask you a question that kind of spins off of Brian's question. As some people believe, the aliens may come out of the Cirrus cloud, Cirrus structure in the solar system, or out of the Pleiades. And some people believe that it was, for instance, the psychic David Zink. While in the Bimini Islands, he feels that Atlantis, the island Atlantis, was destroyed by aliens who came out of the Pleiades, and that they used some type of a magnetic and electromagnetic force to be able to travel from the Pleiades to Earth to monitor the growth of Atlantis and the use of solar and atomic power on Atlantis, and that they were able to actually destroy the island of Atlantis. Any thoughts on that, Dan?
A rather lengthy question. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, but it agrees with the theory that I've said and developed over the last few years, that Atlantis was not destroyed by itself or by a great catastrophic event. It was destroyed in a war, and that's exactly what happened. I believe it's been. I think a lot of the things that I think the Great Flood covered Atlantis up. A lot of Atlantis up is on the water now, but yeah, that is true. I do agree with that a lot, because the magnetic pole of the area off the coast of Bimini has been a source of confusion for scientists for a long, long time now. The missing ship syndrome and whatnot. And you have to think, how come this spot on the planet, we understand why the North Pole has its pole, and and we understand the magnetic pole of there and the natural pole of the Earth from its rotation. But why this area of the planet? Unless there was a foreign source of power creating this magnetic force. And that is what I've believed for a long time. And that's why I believe that's where Atlantis is, and that's why I believed it was attacked.
Well, Dan, certain psychics mention that there are certain crystals, special types of crystals and minerals, often large gems, that are buried as secret relics in certain places of the earth. That these are highly sacred places, and these sacred places literally emit energy fields that are sources of communication and energy for other beings. Would this tie in with your theory that alien spacecraft are supposed to be aligned with certain forces on the Earth as communication and information sources?
Yeah, the story of the crystals has been a confusing one for a long time. But let's place something into memory here. What do you understand as a crystal being? Okay? Diamonds, they could be called crystal. I'll never forget the movie Diamonds Are Forever, where a Star Wars type machine is built and put up in orbit and can blow any place on the planet up within seconds. If you remember the James Bond movie, and here we are in the 1990s, and we have that capability. And that was written back in the 60s. So, and that was bounced off of diamonds, used as a crystal to bounce the lasers off of, to attack anywhere they want on the planet. So crystals would be not so much, I think people have been trying to look at crystals as a way to draw power from, rather as a channel of. In other words, you could channel some type of energy through the crystal and redirect it into different directions due to the many different cuts. So if you had a cut into a certain way, into a direct source that you wanted energy to go into, you could really super concentrate a certain type of powerful beam or light, and have it do numerous different things, provide energy or a weapon source or whatever you wanted.
As they say that the crystal power in Atlantis was used, so that it's possible that Atlanteans were able to develop their crystal powers from instructions from the aliens, learning how to do this through alien forces. And I guess, my other question is that, as you're saying, if these crystals are buried, they could almost be signals, or, if we're reading with satellite dishes 26 signals from outer space, are they reading our signals through these crystals? Is that a possibility also?
Well, they're getting tired of I Love Lucy reruns, let me tell you. I imagine the modern day stuff has made them even more disappointed, but
We're actually going backwards, yes. Hopefully, if they see our current television, they'll come rescue us.
yeah. I heard a rumor once that they like Tibetan music the best, but they like all forms of music. But I have no idea whether that's true or not. The other thing on the propulsion systems is that I'd like to say is that they evidently have difficulty, and there has been stories of crashes before on this planet, some dating very many moons ago, and some dating as early as 40 years ago. Interestingly enough, probably the biggest writer of our time, 1993 right now, is Michael Crichton, who just came out with Rising Sun and Jurassic Park. I just saw his new book the other day, and it's about a spaceship 300 years old found on the ocean surface. Isn't this interesting? And I've been trying to say for a little while now that the government is preparing you for a big announcement that they are here and they do have an alliance, and you're seeing it through the media. The friendly alien syndrome and finding spacecraft now and encounters and this and that, and you're going to see an increase in this. And one of the reasons why is that they got in contact, I believe, with the U.S. government not only because we were holding things that they owned, but including craft, but because they were having trouble navigating within this sphere. Now, some of the stories I've heard of problems with civilians, even state police and local police having, is that when a crash site is seen or a possible problem area is seen where one appears to be in trouble, a special task force is sent out from the U.S. government, no insignias, and everybody is forced out of the area. They come in with choppers right away, and they land troops immediately. Everyone is immediately removed from the area, and this thing is assisted in whatever way it needs to be to rectify the situation, and then no questions are allowed to be answered. So
very interesting. Now, getting back to the propulsion systems, and I know, Brian, you want to ask a question, but I want to get back to an earlier question I had of Dan. With propulsion systems that you've described so far, what is the possibility of traveling faster than light? Now, one of my favorite science fiction writers is Arthur C. Clarke. But Arthur is adamant that traveling faster than the speed of light is impossible, and as such, the entire premise of movies like Star Trek are devoid. They're bankrupt because you cannot excuse me, go faster than the speed of light. And certainly, in order to perpetuate the human species, because certainly, like everything else, the sun was born, it is living, and it will die. And if we do not wish to die with it, we must leave this planet. So, in order to preserve the kind of life that we are accustomed to, faster than light travel is necessary. Regardless of whether it's possible or not, it's necessary. Now, since we've established that fast than light travel is necessary to perpetuate the human species in the condition that we are accustomed to, is that possible?
yes, now watching Star Trek, one of the most amazing things you see about Star Trek is that the body part of the ship is in a saucer style, traditional UFO style saucer. However, the propulsion systems are on the outside to the back and rear of the ship. And the matter-antimatter sections of those propulsion systems are on two different ends. What this does is when the warp speed, as they say, is activated, creates a field, almost like a protective field. In other words, it almost takes them out of the dimension that they are living in. and transports them into another. So it's not actually transporting, as you might think, in a normal way. Arthur C. Clarke is thinking from a normal Earth-style type transportation system. He's not thinking of a matter-antimatter type system where you're almost taking two dimensions and forming them together. Get into the Dune book theory of folding space. Let's think of it that way, where you actually fold space and time, and you are transported in that way. Now how? I'm not a brilliant scientist or anything, but I can understand this concept a lot better than I can understand the concept of trying to travel at the speed of light.
Right.
You're talking a straight line type travel. There could be other doorways, paths, and methods of travel.
In multi-dimensional space.
Yeah. Now Einstein says that if you travel at the speed of light, or faster than the speed of light, you turn into thought. You see?
I've often wondered if thought is faster than the speed of light.
Also, you do not age when traveling in space.
And that,
so if we were to leave here, and as I said, I believe the nearest planet is about 50 years away, we would be there, we would probably have aged about a year or two.
well, yes, progression of age, and Tom, I know you want to talk. Progression of age is associated with speed, not space. But
Yeah.
Tom, you wanted to say something here?
Yes, as Dan's mentioning here, we're talking, linear distance traveling, and thought that way. The astral space, in other words, thought and spirit, is not bound by time. For instance, on the Akashic record, which is the history of all mankind from time immemorial into the future, your life, your many lives, and so forth. The Akashic record is not dependent on space and time, and thought is not dependent on space and time. Thought is instantaneous. It's already been proven by NASA. It takes 8 minutes to send signals to the moon and back. NASA scientists have used a thought reading. You send a thought, I receive it, recorded the time I sent the thought, and it was instantaneous. So, as I was saying, if I can put my body into a meditative state, deep meditative state, in a resting state, now I use my astral soul and mind to space travel instantaneously to another place, and I use that etheric double, that energy, that what the Hindus call prana, force to assemble another body. It's a temporary body. I can, like a hologram, produce a body, and like a hologram, produce a spaceship. Absorbing mineral and sources from the air and ground around me, it's a temporary vehicle that by willpower I can assemble. So, as you say, I can almost instantaneously travel through the universe, observe things, send information, bring people onto my temporary craft. One of the reasons I am moving so fast is I have to.
Well, now we're talking about thought here. Are we not talking about the act of thought?
No, what you're talking about is the first step. You see, if you can understand how thought is processed and moved, you can understand how to move and process physical matter. That's the key. We're many, many years away from it. But if you can understand what I meant by setting up the field, in other words, you would set up a protective field of the solid matter itself while transporting the solid matter in a different sphere of space and time. So, but the inner part of it would be the same. It'd be like if transporting water on a large truck. The water itself is not changing. The water itself is not moving. The truck is what's moving. The water's staying still inside. It's not moving around once it, other than the jolts and stuff. But if you were to move it in space, it would not move at all. So you would be able to walk around freely and do what you want. We're many, many, many years away from being able to do anything like this. But see, the first steps, as Tom said, NASA's already looking into it. Why would NASA be interested in how long it takes to bounce a thought from the moon and back? unless they were thinking of it as a means of travel. So this is being studied. This has been proved on paper. The next step is to do it physically, each step at a time. As I said, this is one of the reasons why we have to spend more time with our children developing their mental capabilities, not forcing geographical thinking upon them.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. And with that, we're going to close up the show. And if anyone out there has any questions, comments, or suggestions, or if you'd like to be a guest on Omnibus Unlimited, you may contact us at Omnibus Unlimited, Box 577, Dover, Massachusetts, 02030-0577. I'd like to thank our guests for being here tonight, Tom Murray, psychic healer and medical technician from the Columbus Medical Associates of Boston. Thanks for being here tonight, Tom.
Thank you very much, Larry.
Dan Murray, ufologist from Berlin, Massachusetts. Dan, thanks for being here tonight.
Live long and prosper, Larry.
I'll try to. Brian Nobile, youth specialist from Wilmington, Massachusetts. Brian, thank you.
It's been fun.
And, of course, our own producer of Omnibus Unlimited, John Horrigan, who has been around.
It was great to be here, Larry.
Oh, a leap of technology just performed. I'm Laurence Nobile, independent researcher and host of Omnibus Unlimited, saying thank you for your attention, good night, and good luck. Omnibus Unlimited is a production of the Crescent Moon Club.
That was all thought out of when they came up with the Star Trek diagram.